Hi everyone, Stepan here. I have another game. I'm playing a National Master, Alex the Chess 01. Okay, I had 2 wins in my last 2 games. His rating is a bit low for a National Master, I have to say. Probably hasn't played a ton of games. In Croatia, that's 2250 national rating, which would correspond to, I want to say, at least 2400 lichas. If you can hear some drilling, there's drilling in the neighborhood. Not much I can do. So excuse that. We have the exchange variation of the Queen's Gambit declined again. And this is what was played in game 3 yesterday in the World Championship. Well, not this exact variation. It was the variation with g6 and Queen c2 without bishop g5, which allowed Dink to play bishop f5 and go for that bishop c2 idea. I covered that game if you haven't seen it. I thought it was really interesting because it's a part of my black repertoire. And the novelty, the h3 move that Gukesh ended up playing is, you could call it Kramnik's novelty. Maybe you couldn't, but I think it's Kramnik's move. Anyway, it was interesting. Okay, this is normal. Black is playing without g6. Although they could still go g6, but now we would transpose to the line with e3 and bishop d3. Maybe black is gonna delay c6 once again. I faced this line with c5 in yesterday's game, where black does not play c6. I really have to learn how to exploit that. There has to be a downside to that. I don't know. I mean, if black doesn't play c6 here and goes for an early c5 again, I could consider taking, but then I'm hanging on f2, so takes, bishop takes, or takes and d4. So maybe on c5 I just go e3. I'm not sure. I don't know the sidelines in this opening that well. Okay, so I'm on 2290, turned 39 points since I started, and this is game 64. So not doing that well, about half a point per game plus score. I had 30 something wins, 32, 20 losses. So my last 2 games were wins though, so let's try to continue the winning streak. I think my longest winning streak was 5 games. Okay, I'm gonna go e3. Now every variation with c5 is less scary because my e-pawn prevents at least a very easy d4. But black has options here. Although my opponent has spent 3 minutes on the first 7 moves, and that's good. Who are you guys rooting for in the World Championship match? I keep changing my mind. Is c5 scary here? Bishop d3, c5. Well, I guess I could take. Bishop d3, c5, dc5. If knight c5, then bishop f6. And knight d3 has to be played. So maybe I should go knight f3 first. To play against d4. Yeah, I'm gonna play knight f3 first. I think my opponent wants to go c5. So I'll try to cover the d4 square as much as I can. Maybe even go rook d1 on the next move. Because the reason okay, c6. I'm happy to see that. Now we have a normal game. But I have to remember after this game finishes to look at the lines with c5, because maybe it was playable. And in the last game I faced c5. Or was it the last game? I think it was. Okay, my opponent wants to go knight f8 and knight g6, and as I mentioned a million times, I'm always happy to see h6 because the g6 square is weak. So on knight f8 I have knight e5. I think the correct move here is knight e4. But I'm not sure. No, knight e4 here. Well, maybe queen e7. So knight e4, bishop e7, queen e7. If bishop e4, d4, knight d2, there's f5. Do I have any way to exploit f5 with bishop c4 or queen b3? So knight e4, bishop e7, queen e7, bishop e4, d4, knight d2, f5. The only way to save the pawn. Because if you go knight f6, well, I guess you could go knight f6. Yeah, you could go knight f6. What am I talking about? f5 is bad. So knight e4, bishop e7, queen e7. Wow. Okay. This is... I'm not gonna say it's bad, but it feels bad. It feels bad. This feels bad. The first thing I'm looking at is whether I should throw in bishop h7, if there's a reason to do that. The second thing I'm looking at is knight e5, but on knight g3 I really don't have a good response. So on bishop h7 I'm expecting king f8 or king g7. Oh, can I trap the queen? I can trap the queen. I can play knight takes d5. Wait, what? Wait a minute. Knight d5. If knight g3, I have knight takes e7 check and I've won a pawn. And if c d5, then bishop c7 traps the queen? Knight takes d5. C takes d5, bishop c7 traps the queen. That works. Am I crazy? Knight d5, c d5, bishop c7, the queen has no squares. My opponent has to take on g3. And then I take on e7 with check. Yep. Okay, I'm happy that I saw knight takes d5. All right. Yes, I'm up a pawn. I usually miss stuff like this. Yes. Okay, that doesn't mean anything. I could still lose. It could still be a draw, but I'm really happy that I didn't miss the tactic. I actually had a game against Radoje Rižanin in Belgrade in 2020. 2021, I want to say, maybe 2019, I'm not sure, where he's a FIDE master 2350, and I drew the game with the same pattern, bishop trapping the queen, and the queen had to move back, and so on and so forth. Okay, so what do I want to do here? I like the move bishop c4, because that would allow queen g6 check. But my opponent has bishop e6 or knight d5. On knight d5, so bishop c4, I'm expecting knight d5. Well, also bishop e6 is playable, but that's just a piece trade. So bishop c4, knight d5, knight e5. Yeah, I like that, I like that. I'm gonna do that. Because now I'm threatening queen g6, winning even more material and winning the game. And when I play knight e5, there's another piece looking at f7 and g6. Okay, knight e5. Yeah, I'm sorry about the drilling, it's extremely annoying, but there isn't much I can do. Let's go knight e5. If my opponent plays knight b4, I can play queen g6. If my opponent plays f6, then that looks losing to me because of the bishop and e4. Also, I'm threatening e4 now, so I couldn't go e4 before knight e5 because queen takes. Also, Lucia and Kira are going out, so Kira is doing this. If you can hear that, excuse me. Excuse Kira. Okay, so I'm very tempted to play a3 to start a minority attack and just to prevent knight b4. And also to prevent b5 to give my bishop a square. Yeah, okay. So I'm up a pawn, I need to play relatively quickly. And I need to play sensible prophylactic moves. a3 prevents knight b4, prevents b5, prepares b4. Seems like a good move. My opponent's king is extremely weak after h6, g5. I'm sure there will be some tactics later on. I mean, there have to be. Okay. Prevents b4. I'm not really sure whether I want to go e4 or not. Even though it doesn't give away the f4 square, it seems risky. I want my rook on the c file, I think. Probably. I still have to consider f6. So what if f6 does happen? Where does my knight go? Probably d3. Also, let's look at e4 again. e4, where can the knight go? The knight can go to b6. That's a forcing move. The knight can go to f6. That's not a forcing move. No, I'm not playing e4. I'll play rook c1, keep things solid. Yeah, I'm not sure black wants to play f6. Even though I don't have an easy way to Okay, there could be some trouble now with b5, let's say bishop d3, and then my opponent's threatening to move the knight to b6 and c4 and play bishop a3. But for the moment b5 isn't playable, so I'll start preparing e4 d5. I want to blast through the center if I can. My opponent's played a nice positional plan. This puts a bind on the b3 square, but I don't find it that scary, since I'm improving all of my pieces and eventually I'll play e4. And the b pawn isn't really mobile yet, so I don't see the knight moving away without a bishop trade. Okay, now the b pawn is mobile. So now let's try to infiltrate. What if I go queen e2, queen h5? How does that look? Queen e2, b5. Queen e2, b5. Bishop d3. At least I'm not hanging an exchange. Okay, I'll play queen e2. I want to infiltrate on the light squares. And I don't want my queen and rook lined up here for bishop b3. So on b5 I can now safely go bishop d3, I think. Oh, they've started again. This has been going on for months. I don't know where you guys live and whether your neighbors do construction work, but this is unbearable, at least for people who do stuff at home like me. If I only, I don't know, watched TV shows at home, that would be fine, but this is... Both Lucia and I work from home, and it's 9 a.m. now, and this is going to be going on the entire day. Very annoying. Also, queen e2 is a good move because I get away from the rook lined up on the c-file. Also, in some cases, when I play e4 d5, if cd5, ed5, my knight's defended by the queen. How does my opponent prevent queen h5? I mean, there's no way to stop it now. But once it happens, how scary is it? I think it's very scary. Because if my opponent plays king h7 to defend the pawn, then bishop d3. If my opponent plays king g7, then maybe I can go knight g4. And then bishop takes, queen takes. I mean, I'm sure I would like to trade my knight for the bishop, because the bishop's holding on to f7. And if I do manage to trade the bishops, then b5 will never really be that scary. Is my opponent planning to go queen g6? Or maybe bishop f5? So if I go queen h5, then bishop f5. No, that doesn't work. There's no bishop g6. Queen h5, what can my opponent do? Queen g6 seems awful. Also, e4 is really strong now, because the knight doesn't have f6 anymore. I don't understand the move queen f6. It's lined up with knight g4. It prevents knight f6 on e4. Yeah, I'm just playing queen h5. Okay. So now e4, knight e7, bishop takes e6, queen takes e6, knight g4 isn't a forcing move. But e4, knight e7, knight g4? It feels like there should be something here to end the game. e4, maybe even knight b6, not knight e7, but knight e7 looks more prudent. e4, knight e7, bishop e6, queen e6. Oh, can I go rook c5? The thing is, my e-pawn is hanging if my knight moves now. Okay, if I don't play e4, what do I do? Candidate moves. I don't see any other candidate moves. I'll just play e4. Because trading the bishops weakens d7, and there could be some tricks with knight d7 later on. I can even go f4. So knight e7, bishop e6, queen e6, f4. Just threatening to either play f5 or take on g5. Probably play f5. Because f6 is never playable. I have queen g6. I think I keep my knight on e5. I can also consider rook d3, followed by rook f3. Oof. That seems scary. Oh, sorry, on f6, I actually don't have queen g6 because there is a knight on e7. Okay, I'm gonna trade bishops. Okay, so I was thinking f4. So what if I do go f4? f4 defends my knight, so on c5 I have d5. On f6 I have f5, which defends my pawn. And threatens to chase the queen away. from f7. So f4, gf doesn't seem likely. f4, what does my opponent do? If queen b3, I'm pretty sure I can just go d5, blocking the queen from defending f7. I can also go knight g4. f4 seems really strong. f4, f6, trying to win the e-pawn. f5. Yeah, that seems good to me. I'm playing f4. Because now my knight is defended, and I can play d5. And when I play d5, where exactly does the queen go? Also, I'm threatening to just take on g5 twice. My knight is so strong on e5, and I guess black wishes they haven't played g5. Imagine black's position if that pawn was on g6. Okay, now, do we go f5 or d5? I guess f5. So let's go f5. Oh, is there knight takes f5? No, when knight takes f5, I have knight g6. I have queen g6. Okay, let's go f5. The best I can see... Okay. So now, when I go queen g4, my opponent is going to have to go queen h7 or queen h8. And then I think... Oh no, I don't have e5 because of knight takes f5. But I could consider knight g6 here. Although trading pieces doesn't seem smart. And then again, what does my opponent do? If takes, then eventually I'm gonna win one of the pawns. If king f8, that's illegal. If queen f8, I take it. If queen... Ooh, queen e8. Knight g6, there is queen e8. Yeah, so I'm not playing knight g6. Oof, on queen h7, do I have knight takes f6? Queen h7, knight f6, king f6, e5 check. King g7 is the only move, and then f6 check. Ooh, that works. Okay, knight f6, king f6, e5, king e5, f6. Seems crushing. Knight f6, king f6, e5, king g7, f6 check, king f8, fe7 check, king e7, rook f1 maybe? Knight f6, king f6. e5. Because on king f5 there is just rook f1 and mate. Let's just double check that. Knight f6, king f6, e5, king f5. Or maybe it isn't mate. Knight f6, king f6, e5, king f5, rook f1, king e6. Yeah, I don't see mate. Okay, maybe I don't give up my knight just yet. Okay, let's go rook f1 first. Because now there's no king f5. Okay. Should I just double my rooks? Ah, that doesn't seem to work. I think I lost my momentum after rook f1. Rook f1 was useless. That being said, the queen is still trapped on h7. What if I go d5? Yeah, I'm switching plans. I don't need my rook on f1. I'm not taking on f6 or playing e5. I want to go d5. I'm admitting my mistake. This wasn't good. So d5, cd5, rook c7, rook f7 or rook e8. No, it doesn't work yet. Okay, let's provoke b5. I need to start playing quickly. I'm playing like an idiot, too slowly. I need to speed up. Because I'm down to a minute, and the fact that I have a better position will be meaningless. I just want to weaken the c-pawn. Because now the knight is sort of trapped. Pressure down the c-file. If the knight moves, I take on c6. I have to play quickly. Let's improve my king. I'm switching back to knight takes f6, because I think it works now. I actually should have brought my king to f3. To defend. I want my king on f3 to defend the pawn. Of course, I didn't know that c4 was going to happen, but... Oh, I actually had d6 winning a full rook here. Oh no, there was rook f7. Okay. Okay. Ah, there had to have been something there. I don't know where, but I missed my chance. Oh, is there rook takes e4 followed by queen f5? My god. There could be. Okay, so let's defend against that. Because now on rook e4, queen f5, I have king e3. Oof. I think I could have lost immediately now. Let's block things up. I don't want to allow queen f5. I'm switching plans to something different. I'm not gonna win with this setup. I wanna go queen h2. And maybe put the knight on c3. Okay, that's a pawn. Ah, the knight's coming to e5. Knight f7, knight e5. That's annoying. I'm gonna sack the exchange. Probably. Ooh, maybe I can put my knight on b4 to prevent knight d3. Maybe. I'm sorry, with a minute on the clock, I'm just unable to think straight. I need to get rid of this knight. Yes, I'm getting rid of the knight. And if my opponent takes on d2, I take on b7. And my opponent's losing. Oof. I think I'm winning now. This is 2 pawns up in rook endgame. I got rid of the knight. Yeah, this is game over. It's over. Has to be. The only thing I'm concerned about is these 2 pawns queening, but not really, because my king is now close enough. Yeah, now it's all over. My king is reaching b4. Come on, 3 in a row. Yes. Okay. Yes. I saw knight d5 and then I didn't convert on time, but I managed to win in the endgame. Ooh, I got below a minute there. Yes. Come on. Okay, let's analyze. If you're looking for a more effective way to learn openings, try out Chessbook. It's a great tool for studying openings. It's very easy to use. It focuses on moves that people actually play. It explains the plans in certain positions, and it's going to highlight the mistakes you made in your games. So once you connect your Lichess and Chess.com accounts, it's going to focus on the mistakes you actually make. So you're going to be able to work on what matters most. You can import your repertoire either by hand or by importing a PGN, so that's easy. Let's say save my progress, and you can then practice those moves. So if you go to, let's say, your black repertoire, you can see that mine is 89% complete. You can press import and you can use any of the PGNs I've prepared. You can find a bunch of them in the link description, in the description below. So import the repertoire, and then you can start practicing it. So for example, if we go d4, d5, you can also have a bunch of pre-made repertoires from this position, and some of them are mine. I have created a Queen's Gambit declined opening repertoire for black, so you can start with that. I have created an e4, e5 full repertoire for black, and I have created the London system repertoire for white, and you can access them through Chessbook easily. So once again, once you connect your Lichess and Chess.com accounts, you're going to be able to correct your opening mistakes. So, for example, in this case, I play h6 in the tile, and let's see what mistake I'd made. So in this position, you played e6, play the correct move on the board. Wait, what's the move? I think I should go bishop e4. No? And here, this is a good example. I don't know. I don't know. Show me the answer. Queen e6 check. Yes. Okay. Damn. So you see what I'm talking about. I made the mistake in the game, and then once again, when I was reviewing it on Chessbook, I didn't know what to do. You can also practice all the moves in your repertoire, which is obviously one of the most useful things you can do. You can play through model games in your openings. You're going to get served games daily. And you can view performance by opening, which will be there once you complete your repertoire. Check out Chessbook by following the link in the description below. It's only $8 a month, even less if you pay yearly, and I hope you like it. Okay, let's analyze. All right, so yeah, the first thing, okay, let's remember c5. So 91% accuracy, 30 average centipawn loss. My opponent had 89% accuracy, so not a perfect game, but okay. Let's turn on the book. So c5 apparently isn't playable here. e3, is c5 playable here? Well, it's okay. Yeah, I can castle queenside. Oof, okay. So this is fine. And now we have transposed to mainline stuff, except that my opponent could have played without h6. And I told you knight e4 is the main move here. g5 is weird. Yeah, now knight d5 is hanging. Yes! And I saw it! Normally I miss stuff like that. Okay. Wait, I should have taken with the f pawn? That's crazy. Why would I take with the f pawn? Doesn't black play queen takes e3? Wait a minute, what? So yeah, my rook is useful, but I don't think I would ever take. e4 immediately, bishop c4, knight d5, knight e5 is okay, bishop e6, e4 again, a3 is fine, rook c1 is fine, e4, I should have played e4 sooner. Queen e2 is good, finally. e4, f4, queen h5 is okay. e4 finally. Bishop e6 is okay. f4, let's go! f5. Okay, now let's see. Knight d7. Ooh, that makes sense. The knight is coming to e6. Look at this. I didn't see this. No! And my opponent... Okay, so knight b6 is hanging, and if my opponent defends against that, somehow, let's say, I don't know, here, then I go knight c5, knight e6. Okay, but I played knight g4, queen h7. Now, could I have taken on f6? That's the first question. King f5, queen h3. Apparently... yes. Okay, but it's not that clear. Okay, I played rook f1. Wait, rook f1 is stronger than taking, at least. Yeah, and I knew that d5 was a move. I should have gone d5. Because I'm threatening rook c7. Well, I played rook fd1 first, rook a d8, again d5. So let's see, d5, if c d5, then rook c7. And here... Ooh, and now e5 because the knight is pinned. But wait, what about queen f5? Yeah, okay, I can just play rook takes d5. Okay, I played rook c4. e5 again. Wait, what about queen f5? No, queen f5 doesn't work because I take on h6. What about knight f5? Yeah, then knight f6. Yeah, I missed a ton. I missed a ton. Okay, knight f6 worked. e5 worked. I'm constantly winning, but I just chose not to convert. I couldn't see a win, so... Okay, at this point I was down to a minute, so... On every single turn, I had a move that was +5, and then I chose something different. Yeah, now the only thing I'm wondering is whether I was losing to rook e4. Does this work? Oh, I play king e4. No, when the rooks were doubled. So I played knight f2. Yeah, okay, let's say I make a random move. Rook e4. Yeah. Rook e4, queen f5. Yeah. So knight f2 preventing rook e4. And I'm still better. Yeah, I should not have gone g4 because the knight's coming to e5. But I was playing very quickly at this point. Yeah, finally getting rid of the knight. And now the thing is, if knight takes, then I just take, and this is game over, because the rook's hanging. If rook d2, I take on b7. And the pawn is just queening. So, okay, rook e8, takes. And now this is, I think this is a simple win, especially after this one rook trade. And when my king comes to e3, when it's within the square of the c pawn, then it's fine. Yeah, now it's just game over. Okay. Woohoo! Thank you guys for watching. This is 3 in a row. See you in the next one. Stay tuned for more chess. Bye bye.